A certain king had a beautiful garden, and in the garden stood a tree which gave golden apples. These apples were always counted. About the time they began to get ripe, it was found that every night one of them was gone. The king became very angry at this, and ordered the gardener to keep watch all night under the tree. The gardener set his eldest son to watch, but about 12 o'clock he fell asleep, and in the morning another apple was missing. Then the second son was ordered to watch, and at midnight he too fell asleep, and in the morning another apple was gone. Then the third son offered to keep watch, but the gardener at first would not let him, out of fear he would come to harm. However, at last he consented, and the young man laid himself under the tree to watch. As the clock struck 12, he heard a rustling noise in the air, and a bird came flying, one of pure gold. As it was snapping at one of the apples with its beak, the gardener's son jumped up and shot an arrow at it, but the arrow did not harm the bird. It just dropped a golden feather from its tail and then flew away. The golden feather was brought to the king in the morning, and all the council was called together. Everyone agreed that it was worth more than all the wealth of the kingdom. But the king said, "One feather is no use to me. I must have the whole bird." Then the gardener's eldest son set off, thinking he'd find the golden bird very easily, and when he'd only gone a little way he came to a wood. By the side of the wood he saw a fox sitting, so he took his bow and got ready to shoot at it. Then the fox said, "Do not shoot me. I'll give you some sound advice. I know you want to find the golden bird. You will reach a village in the evening, and when you get there, you will see two inns opposite each other, one of which is very pleasant and beautiful to look at. Do not go in there, but rest in the other for the night, though it may appear to you to be very poor and shabby." But the son thought to himself, "What can such a beast as this know about the matter?" So he shot his arrow at the fox, but he missed it, and the fox ran into the wood. Then he went on his way, and in the evening came to the village where the two inns were, and in one there were people singing and dancing and feasting, but the other looked very dirty and poor. "I would be very silly," he said, "if I went to that ramshackle house and left this charming place." So he went into the smart house, eating and drinking in perfect comfort, and forgot the bird, and his country too. Time passed on, and as the eldest son did not come back, and no tidings were heard of him, the second son set out, and the same thing happened to him. He met the fox, who gave him the good advice, but when he came to the two inns, his eldest brother was standing at the window where the merrymaking was, and called to him to come in. He couldn't withstand the temptation, but went in, and forgot the golden bird and his country, just like his brother. Time passed on again, and the youngest son also wished to set out into the wide world to seek the golden bird. But for a long while his father would not listen to it. He was very fond of his son, and was afraid that some bad luck might prevent him from coming back. However, at last it was agreed that he should go. He would not rest at home. As he came to the wood he met the fox, and heard the same good advice. But he was grateful to the fox, and did not try to kill him as his brothers had done. So the fox said, "Sit upon my tail, and you will travel faster." So he sat down, and the fox began to run, and away they went over rocks and stones so quick that their hair whistled in the wind. When they came to the village, the son followed the fox's advice, and without looking around went to the shabby inn, and rested there in comfort all night. In the morning the fox came again and met him as he was beginning his journey, and said, "Go straight forward till you come to a castle. There will be a whole troop of soldiers fast asleep and snoring. Take no notice of them, but go into the castle, and pass on and on till you come to a room. The golden bird sits in a wooden cage. There is a beautiful golden cage nearby, but do not try to take the bird out of the shabby cage and put it into the beautiful one. Otherwise you will regret it." Then the fox stretched out his tail again, and the young man sat himself down, and away they went over rocks and stones till their hair whistled in the wind. In front of the castle gate everything was just as the fox had said, so the son went in and found the chamber where the golden bird hung in a wooden cage, and nearby stood the golden cage. The 3 golden apples that had been lost were also lying near the cage. Then he thought to himself, "It would be laughable to bring away such a fine bird in such a shabby cage." So he put the bird into the golden cage, but the bird gave such a loud scream that all the soldiers woke up, and they took him prisoner and carried him before the king. The next morning the court sat to judge him. When all was heard, it sentenced him to die, unless he should bring the king the golden horse, which could run as swiftly as the wind. If he did this, he would be given the golden bird as his own. So he set out once more on his journey, sighing and in great despair, when all of a sudden his friend the fox met him and said, "You see now what has happened because you did not listen to my advice, but I will still tell you how to find the golden horse, if you will do as I bid you. You must go straight on till you come to the castle where the horse stands in his stall. By his side the groom will be laid fast asleep and snoring. Take away the horse quietly, but be sure to put the old leather saddle on him, and not the golden one that's nearby." Then the son sat down on the fox's tail, and away they went over rocks and stones, till their hair whistled in the wind. All went well, and the groom lay snoring with his hand upon the golden saddle. But when the son looked at the horse, he thought it was a great pity to put the leather saddle on him. "I will give him the good one," he said. "I'm sure he deserves it." As he took up the golden saddle, the groom awoke, and cried out so loud that all the guards ran in and took him prisoner. In the morning he was brought before the court to be judged again, and was sentenced to die. But it was agreed that if he could bring the beautiful princess, he would live, and the bird and the horse would be given to him. Then he went his way very sorrowful, but the old fox came and said, "Why did you not listen to me? If you had, you would have carried away both the bird and the horse. But I will give you my advice once more. Go straight on, and in the evening you will arrive at a castle. At 12 o'clock at night the princess goes to the bathing house. Go up to her and give her a kiss, and she will let you lead her away. Take care you do not allow her to go and say goodbye to her mother and father." Then the fox stretched out his tail, and so away they went over rocks and stones till their hair whistled again. As they came to the castle, all was as the fox had said, and at 12 o'clock the young man met the princess going to the bath. He gave her the kiss, and she agreed to run away with him. But she begged with many tears that he would let her say goodbye to her father. At first he refused, but she wept more and more, and fell at his feet, till at last he consented. But the moment she came to her father's house, the guards awoke, and he was taken prisoner again. Then he was brought before the king, and the king said, "You shall never have my daughter unless in 8 days you dig away the hill that stops the view from my window." Now this hill was so big that the whole world could not take it away. And when he had worked for 7 days and had done very little, the fox came and said, "Lie down and go to sleep, I will work for you." And in the morning he awoke, and the hill was gone. So he went merrily to the king, and told him that now it was removed he must give him the princess. Then the king was obliged to keep his word, and away went the young man and the princess. And the fox came and said to him, "We will have all three, the princess, the horse, and the bird." "Ah," said the young man, "that would be terrific, but how can you manage that?" "If you will just listen," said the fox, "it can be done. When you come to the king and he asks for the beautiful princess, you must say, 'Here she is.' Then he will be very joyful, and you will mount the golden horse that they give you. Shake their hands, but shake hands with the princess last. Then lift her quickly onto the horse behind you. Clap your spurs to his side and gallop away as fast as you can." Everything went well. Then the fox said, "When you come to the castle where the bird is, I will stay with the princess at the door, and you will ride in and speak to the king. When he sees that it's the right horse, he will bring out the bird. But you must sit still, and say that you want a closer look to see whether it's the true golden bird. And when you get it into your hand, ride away." This too happened as the fox had said. They carried off the bird, the princess mounted again, and they rode on to a great wood. Then the fox came and said, "Pray kill me, and cut off my head and my feet." But the young man refused to do it, so the fox said, "In any case, I will give you some good advice. Beware of 2 things. Do not pay for anyone's release from the gallows, and do not sit down by the side of any river." Then away he went. Well, thought the young man, that shouldn't be a problem. He rode on with the princess, till at last he came to the village where he had left his 2 brothers. He heard a great noise and uproar, and when he asked what the matter was, the people said, "2 men are going to be hanged." As he came nearer, he saw that the 2 men were his brothers, who had turned robbers. So he said, "Can't they be saved?" But the people said, "No, unless he would give them all his money and buy their freedom." He did not stay to think about the matter, but paid what was asked, and his brothers were released, and went on with him towards their home. As they came to the wood where the fox first met them, It was so cool and pleasant that the two brothers said, "Let us sit down by the side of the river and rest a while to eat and drink." So he said, "Yes," and forgot the fox's advice and sat down on the side of the river. And while he suspected nothing, his brothers came behind and threw him down the bank, and took the princess, the horse, and the bird, and went home to the king their master and said, "We have won all this by our labor." There was great rejoicing, but the horse would not eat, the bird would not sing, and the princess wept. The youngest son fell to the bottom of the riverbed. Luckily it was nearly dry, but his bones were almost broken, and the bank was so steep that he could not find a way to get out. Then the old fox came again and scolded him for not following his advice. Otherwise, no evil would have befallen him. "But," he said, "I cannot leave you here, so grab my tail and hold on." Then he pulled him out of the river and said to him as he climbed upon the bank, "Your brothers have set watch to kill you if they find you in the kingdom." So he dressed himself as a poor man, and came secretly to the king's court, and was scarcely within the doors when the horse began to eat, and the bird began to sing, and the princess stopped weeping. Then he went to the king and told him all his brothers' trickery. They were seized and punished, and he had the princess given to him again, and after the king's death he was heir to the kingdom. A long while after, he went to walk one day in the wood, and the old fox met him, and begged him, with tears in his eyes, to kill him, and cut off his head and feet. At last he did so, and in a moment the fox was changed into a man, and turned out to be the brother of the princess, who had been lost a great many, many years.